We all want to make the most of our crafting supplies. So today I'm going to show you a card idea that uses only 5 supplies but makes cards for several different occasions. Hi, I'm Jess from jesscrafts.com and I'm here to help you make the most of your crafty supplies and time. So we're going to use 2 dies, the die cut machine that goes with them, some colored cardstock, and glue. That's it for today. So let's go to the craft table. Using just 5 supplies was inspired by the upcoming Stress-Free Card Making Summit where I will be teaching, and I'm going to be using one of my paper busting templates. It's an exclusive one that you haven't seen before for the summit, but today I wanted to show you that I could do the same thing, like I could make cards with 5 supplies without using patterned paper, which is like probably crazy for those who follow me like all the time. You know, I just am obsessed with patterned paper, but I was like, I could do it without it. So if you are interested in learning from 29 different amazing crafters, including Lou Collins, Ardith Percy Robb, Justine Hovey, Daniel West, Laurel Beard, myself, you can go into the Paige Taylor Evans, go to the video description. There's a link at the very top and you can get your free ticket to the summit, which will give you 24 hours to watch the classes over the 3 days. So you'll get, a group of classes and 24 hours to watch that and the next group of classes the next day, or you can upgrade and have more time to watch the classes. Okay, so our 5 supplies today. I have the scrapbook.com Cozy Wreath die, and the reason for that is that it was given away as a freebie recently at SBC Fest, which I've also taught at in the past. And so I thought, well, there's probably some amount of you who picked up this for free because a lot of you like to shop at scrapbook.com. This is a Hugs die from the Bear Hugs set. Of course, you could substitute many, many, many other word dies, but I do like a general sentiment like hugs or hello. I think they gave out a hello die for free. I don't know, like they give out a lot of free dies too with your order. Like you have to pay shipping, you can add them onto your order and all that, but they're very generous with their free gifts. So I'm sure you've gotten a word die over time from them as well. And then I'm gonna use their smooth cardstock. And this is another thing I know has been a freebie. Not as often as some other things, but I just really want to show you some ideas with those things that I do when I see those free things, I promote them to you guys because I want you to be able to pick them up, especially if you're already ordering something. So I am going to also use my die cut machine and glue, and that comes to my 5 supplies. 2 die sets, glue, cardstock, die cut machine. I am going to have a few other things on my desk during this process. I have, my black craft mat that I'm working on, which isn't part of the 5 supplies because you don't need it. I'm going to use the scrapbook.com stack and sort trays to keep my die cuts organized. You absolutely don't need that. You can find something in your house, like old boxes that products came in or something. In addition to having a bottle of glue, I do have a little holder that it uses to keep the glue into the tip or something. I'm not counting those as my 5 supplies because none of those are necessary. Hopefully that seems fair to you as well. Okay, I'm not going to have you watch me die cut all of these things, but I did want to show you how we can make them for multiple holidays and share my tips. So here is my first card, and I'm thinking of this as like a great fall card. Of course, you could add more to it. You could stamp with it to make it more explicitly a fall card, but I think the colors alone communicate fall. And this wreath has a very fall feel to it if you cut it out of fall colors. But then, if you cut it out of more traditionally winter colors, like these 2 shades of blue, it has a very winter feel. Now, this would not be considered a basic supply or something like that, but when you get your machine, I have my Spellbinders exclusive scrapbook.com machine. It comes with like plates, and these will absolutely do a great job. Spellbinders particularly, I really love my machine. It gives me very, very good cuts. But if you've gotten this, because again, this has been a freebie a few times, I encourage you to use your magic mat with this die or any die that has some embossing detail. We're going to get our camera to focus in on that embossing detail. When you use a magic mat instead of a standard cutting plate, it's going to emboss a little bit deeper and give you a little bit nicer of an impression. So if any die with that embossing, Really recommend the Magic Mat. It's not a necessary thing, but it gives it a little better of an impression. I also do like the slightly thinner cardstock. Scrapbook.com is 85-pound cardstock, which I would not use for a card base. But when you're die cutting something like this, where you do want that embossing, a thinner paper is also great for that. So that's part of the reason I chose this paper. Then when I go to put these on my card, I want to, well, what this die, the way this die really shines to me is by putting many layers. So I chose just 2 colors for all of my cards today because I'm making several cards. But I encourage you to kind of go into your collection and pull out several and layer them up, because the more layers you add, the prettier this gets. Like you can see, even just adding that green and all those different things poking out, it looks gorgeous. And it's really not very difficult to work with. I've cut 6 of them, absolutely no tearing on any of them, no issues with that. You can get a tool like a Spellbinder's tool-in-one, and that allows you to like rub along all those little circles that are there in the center. So if you see beyond that large circle in the center, there's all those little dots around it. That can be a little bit tricky to get all those out. I don't want you to go in there with a little individual poker tool. I mean, absolutely, you can do whatever you want to do. And you don't need any special tools. You can kind of just rub it with your fingers. But there's a tool-in-one from Spellbinders that's somewhere on my desk, that little rolly brush. That can be helpful. And then we're coming in with our fine point glue. Scrapbook.com makes Artiste glue, which is great as well. I've just had a long history of success with my Bearly Art Glue. The first layer, I'm going to glue down all the way. So I put the glue all over my die cut piece, and then I'm going to press it down. You want to be kind of aware if you have particularly, if you've got a lot of glue on your fingers, or if your fingers were inky from another project. I mean, we didn't use ink in this, so hopefully they're fine. And I'm going to put it on the top half of my card. You could center it, and you could make this whole card going the other way. Maybe we'll do one of those too. So if you're more of a landscape crafter than a portrait, but I like for the portrait style to go to that top half. Then we'll glue on our second layer, but this time what I encourage you to do is only put glue around the center and not to glue down all of the foliage and leaves or whatever you want to call all that stuff on the outside. Now, you could also with this die do some individual coloring with your markers or inking and making the different leaves different colors. That's a little too fussy for me. I definitely prefer to use things solid. When you cut this wreath, every time you cut it, you cut the circle through the center too. So I have some extra circle dies, and you could use these to make a whole new card, because now you just have a bunch of small circles, and that could be fun. Or what I'm going to do is put one of the colors for each set back in the center to make my word more readable, but I'm going to choose the bottom color. So that way it provides some contrast with the thing that's next to it and makes my sentiment very clearly readable. I really recommend that when you pick your sentiment, you pick a sentiment that has an outline die to it. Because if you were to start gluing just some letters directly onto this, because everything here is a little bit delicate, it might not really stand out. So I can even just kind of show you real briefly here. Because this is a darker color, it stands out pretty okay. You could see it if I just wrote hug there. But when I need to start scooching it over, and I write hugs, and my letters are starting to kind of overlap the foliage, it starts becoming harder to read. So we're going to glue down our outline, and then glue down the inside bits in a contrasting color. When you cut this die, it cuts this outline that I'm gluing right now, and then it cuts all the individual letters. So I have navy blue of this outside bit that I'm gluing right now, and I have navy blue letters. And that means that I can kind of do a bit of a 2-for-1 deal. So the navy blue letters are inside of this green outline, and I didn't have to do quite as much die cutting because I get 2 sentiments each time. There is also a big outline die that comes with the set. as well for an additional option if you don't like to do the inlaid look. Changes it up a little bit. I'm sure you've seen this before, but if you're having a hard time like making sure that this is going to stay down, you can always put some heavy stuff on top of it. When you're done with all of the layers, you can use acrylic blocks. I have like a glass paperweight that I got made custom on Etsy, but people use their cell phones, anything like that. And then for the inlay, it's just as simple as adding some glue into the space between the letters, and then I'll go to my scrapbook.com tray and find some coordinating letters and put them inside. Earlier, I recommended not putting glue on your second layer, and I would say the same thing if you do a third layer of the color. And then I also recommend maybe pulling them up a little bit and adding a bit of curl to them. I think that it adds a lot of dimension and interest to these otherwise pretty simple cards. A couple other things you could do to add some interest would be to ink the edges, round the corners, pick a colored card base instead of a white card base. But overall, I wanted to show you just how simple it could be. I did have some extra words, so I kind of tried for like a spring version of the card, but I think there's too much blue and it still looks a little wintry. But I think you see that as you change up the colors, this simple die and word combo really changes with the seasons. And I don't even think you need a specific wreath die. Any large focal point die, like even the bear that comes with the hugs word, if you wanted to just use this set, you could cut him brown every time, or even make him like maybe white for Christmas or something like that, and then change the accessories around it or the color of the words, and it would invoke different seasons and work across cards. If you like this idea of getting really simple ideas for holiday cards and beyond, where you're not having to get a whole bunch of supplies together each time, be sure to check that link to the Stress-Free Card Making Summit. I really look forward to chatting with you live during the summit. So there's going to be some live Q&As, and I do believe they will be still available in the Facebook group and on YouTube after the summit. So if you're seeing this after that, then you can check those out as well. If you like this video, here's another video where you can find more ideas for enjoying your crafty time and supplies. Let me know you like this video with a share to your crafty community, subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next template or tutorial, and check the video description for product links. See you in the next video.